What's up, YouTube? So you all know the news about the Mandalore that's coming out late next year. Really excited about this. This is coming from me because I'm a really big Star Wars fan. And not only that, but I've always been a big fan of the Mandalorians. Now, I never heavily followed the comic books or anything like that, some people. I know they had a lot of those back then, which are now called legends. But I know one of the biggest ones I remember from reading the book Raven, which is also legends, was Mandalore the Ultimate. So before I get into that, I want to talk more about what's happening with the Mandalorian TV show. So it's going for about 10 episodes, the $100 million budget, which is good because it's going to make it very high quality. And they not only that, but Jon Favreau is spearheading the series. I love Jon Favreau. If you haven't seen one of his movies he's produced and done himself, it's called Chef. You got to go and watch it. It's a very good movie. Anyways, I've always been a big fan of Jon Favreau, and now that he's taken on Star Wars, he's written it and he's leading it with Dave Filoni spearheading the pilot as the director for the first episode of the 10-episode series, and then Taika Waititi's coming in also as a director and possibly going to be an actor for it. I'm really looking forward to this. Bryce Dallas Howard is also going to be directing it, but I'm not really a big fan of any. I don't think she's directed anything before that was crazy, so I can't say I'm excited about that. But I guess that's cool because I know that she's obviously got a lot of guidance coming from her dad. But something I want to talk about, some pros and cons here I could see happening with this TV show next year. It's gonna be a big deal because the first TV show coming out for Star Wars with this big budget, and it's exploring a different part of the galaxy that's not Jedi, not Sith, but has a big following. Mandalorians has a big backup of a fan base. And again, I'm not like the diehard fan of the Mandalorians. I've always admired certain people in Mandalorians. I thought there's things about Jango Fett I liked. Boba Fett he was okay. But Mandalore the Ultimate was the one that I was a huge fan of, despite the fact that he was secretly Sith. But he was the one who helped the Sith. He was the reason why the Sith were able to overthrow the Jedi the way they did thousands of years ago at the time of Raven. So here's where I'm trying to get to right now about the pros. The possibility of this TV show coming around and establishing and reestablishing the fan base and whatnot, and getting us back on track, because we know how The Last Jedi divided us, and then Solo was just a box office bomb because they lost our attention, and there aren't hardcore fans for Solo. If they can create a new lore in the galaxy far, far away with something like they did in the books with Mandalore the Ultimate, this show will be successful, and they can bring fans back. Starting with this, it'd be a step in the right direction. We need lore. We need more Star Wars. They're saying that we're tired of Star Wars. That might be true, but we're tired of getting the same, over and over back to Solo, and then the Last Jedi, and then the Force Awakens getting pumped out, which was a rehash of A New Hope. We probably are fatigued from Star Wars. I mean, that's what they're calling us. They're saying that we're tired, we're fatigued, we're tired of Star Wars. That could be true because they're just rehashing the same thing. So give us something different, give us something new. And I feel like the Mandalorians could be that step to make something happen. Plus, it's all we got coming next year that's fresh. Because episode 9 I think is, I have mixed feelings about that one, how that's going to turn out. I think it's got a great team behind it, J.J. Abrams and whatnot. But after the damage done by The Last Jedi, I don't know how that's going to pan out. So I just want to go on more about the Mandalorians and the fact that there's so much ground that they can cover about things that's either happened, whether it was in the comics or in the books and whatnot. Even if they're legends, they can bring that over into canon. I know there's talk about them bringing things over into canon, but even if that doesn't happen, they create something new, I'm all for it. but it's got to be strong. It can't just be a story that they just introduce and then pump out useless, you know, things that make us want to buy merchandise like they did in The Last Jedi. What doesn't really make sense to me, it's got to be things that, as Lucas had said himself, it's got to be things that like defy our reality, that brings us into a galaxy far, far away and lures us into it. And that's the challenge that I feel that they will have with this. They're facing a studio. The studio is now facing the possibility of us losing faith. And if they fail with this Mandalorian, I mean, this already has like a solid fan base, if you ask me. It'd be hard to fail at this one, actually. So this isn't just betting everything on like one movie either. This is putting what they got into 10 episodes and expanding that part of the universe. The time frame, yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. It's going in between episode, Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. I think like 7 years after, from last I read, it's going 7 years after Return of the Jedi. The problem is with this is the things that happen in between those two movies, all those years, nothingness. I mean, when I say nothingness, it was like, it was all in books, it was all in comics, in video games, all now considered legends. So now it's just blank space. Now we got new stuff that's come out. There's the book of the trilogy of books, Aftermath and whatnot. That I read all 3 books; those were good. I believe it was Chuck Wendig who wrote those books. I'd have to double check, but they have they got things coming out now that Disney wants people to, authors and stuff, to write on, to introduce to us. So the part about Mandalorians being involved in that different part of the region where the New Republic is trying to establish themselves, and the First Order is scouring around the galaxy, and Kylo Ren's probably still a youngster at that time, and Luke is also still establishing his temple and himself as well. So everything's moving around. I think this is a great opportunity for us to see what the Mandalorians are up to and to introduce to us new characters. Again, I just don't want to follow like a period of like a few Mandalorians trying to salvage Mandalore from the Empire. That's just, I don't know. I don't think that's like supplying us enough lore. So if they can introduce to us a big character, bring to us someone that we could really attach to, that would bring a lot of extra life, like to Star Wars, then I believe that could be really useful for them, and that'll be a big deal for us. Again, Mandalore the Ultimate, the ultimate king of Mandalorians. That hasn't happened like since then, which was like 3,000 years before A New Hope, and but he's the biggest story that stands out amongst their time. And the Mandalorians for years, for almost a century, it's not that they hated the Jedi when they were fighting them all that time. It was just the fact that they had a knack to kill. They had this niche, this want to kill, because they're raised to defend themselves. They're raised to be tough. In a sense, they're Spartans, but this is space, right? So they're trained in this unique way so that they can defend themselves against any species, against any kind of advanced tech like the Jedi or the Sith. And they fought both back then. There's a lot they can go into that, but they didn't decide to go way backtrack a few thousand years ago. They're trying to cover ground between movies and whatnot, which I think could be good. The thing is they've tried that right now recently with Solo. I remember when I first found out actually about Dave Filoni being a part of the Star Wars universe still. So I was watching Star Wars Rebels, and I think at some point I came across the scene where Obi-Wan had his last fight with Darth Maul. And the way that Obi-Wan faced off Darth Maul, he held back and showed his stance out with his lightsaber, 2 fingers up, and waited for Darth Maul to attack and struck Darth Maul down. What amazed me about this was that Obi-Wan, in all of his time, was never the one to strike first. He was always waiting. The only time he ever done that, where he struck first, was with Darth Maul when he was a Padawan, and he did it out of anger. And he won that fight, and he won again in this fight. The funny thing was he won both fights either way. The thing that's important this time is that Dave Filoni knew that he's coming from a time now where he's in his old age and he's wiser and much more patient. And I feel like he knew that. And I wondered how did the Star Wars team know this? How did they come to figure that out? Was the visionary, was Kathleen Kennedy that headstrong about what the vision was from Obi-Wan then to Obi-Wan now, that she felt that this is something that an older, wiser Obi-Wan would do to face off his first enemy again in his older age. So, I did some research and come to find out Dave Filoni. He was the one that was a part of the project and was overseeing the whole animation. So I thought that was really unique, and now he's a part of it in a bigger way with this TV show. And the funny thing was too, in both TV shows, Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, Dave Filoni handled the Mandalorians in both, under Lucas's vision and under Disney's vision. And people complain a lot about the Mandalorians in both shows, but I felt like there was a lot more understanding I got out of them. They shined a different light on them in the last TV show, The Rebels, but the way it came out was from a perspective of a Mandalorian that came on to Ezra's team. So that was kind of different compared to the rest of the planet. I think that if they engage in a different way, if they engage this in a different way with the Mandalorians in this TV show, then they can really shine some light on what it's really like to be a Mandalorian. Maybe even backtrack in their own words somehow about how ancient and how far back they go and how involved their people were with the universe, with the galaxy. So to wrap up everything that I had to say, in my opinion, about the upcoming TV show, I'm very excited, and I'm more hopeful about the TV show than I am about even episode 9. And that might be because there's less pressure. But right now, while everything is going good, we still have yet to see what the trailer's like. We still have yet to see what the cast is like. So I'll keep you guys updated on what the news is and what the news about any details that comes out about any cast and about any kind of updates that could be interesting for any of us. So please comment in the section below. Share with me your thoughts about the Mandalorian TV show, and please subscribe. Thank you.